grandmother is tenacious. She is persistent, and she's a true humanitarian.
Wow, I would agree. You got 3 more words for it?
3 words for her? Yeah. She is poised.
Poised, yes.
And she is gracious.
Yes.
And she's tenacious.
Oh my God. So y'all got 1 word that both of you are together on. I like that. And I can agree with that. From working with you all over the years, I agree. Okay, so Dr. Opal, your journey for the Juneteenth has been decades in the making. What moment made you feel like all the work was finally paying off?
When I got to President Biden's desk, and he had a pen in his hand where he was signing Juneteenth into law,
Yes.
I thought I had arrived.
Yes.
I could have done a holy dance,
Yes.
but the kids said I twerk when I shout.
Oh my God, some twerking involved. Well, you know, you got to have the proper tools to twerk, right?
Okay. I didn't know you had to have tools to twerk. The people I've seen twerking didn't have any tools.
Okay, granddaughter, what's something about your grandmother that people might not know but should?
The nation right now currently see her and know her as the grandmother of Juneteenth.
Right.
What they don't realize is that she was, before any of the celebrity, any of the news articles, any of the notoriety, she's always been a humanitarian.
Right.
It has been her life force to see that people have dignity in the life that they lead. So whether it was her thing to get housing, all right, or food or clothing, she's always been about helping the individual. And I remember when we got a grant to get 10 IBM computers, and we started a computer school on the corner of Evans and Rosedale. Her main focus was to educate her peer group, which would have been senior citizens, because she didn't want them to be left out of the technology age. So I taught computer skills to senior citizens, right? You ever try to teach a senior citizen how to double click? Double click is hard. I mean, with the arthritis in the hand on the mouse, I mean, you had to slow that mouse down so that their double clicks or their single clicks could be considered double. So, but she saw a need in her community, in her peer group, that she sought to alleviate, right? She didn't want them left behind. So that human factor, that ability to see what others need, is a superpower, I would call her.
Some people think of history as something that just sits in books. How do we make sure young people realize they are actively writing history right now?
I think their teachers should impress on them that what they're doing right now becomes history for other children who come behind them, and that their actions, I say, reverberate. It follows, and others listen and take heed. And so I'd suggest to youngsters, they got these computers, you know, that they not put anything on them that they don't want their parents to know about, because it's going to follow them. It'll be there.
Yes.
And when they get ready to be the President of the United States, they're going to bring that stuff out.
Yes.
So I get on my bending knees and ask the children not to use the computers other than for the betterment of their community, their school, their family, their church.
Right.
And when she says computer, what she's really talking about is their social media, their Facebooks, their Instagrams, their Snapchats, their TikToks, their, Twitter or X or whatever. Because what you retweet, what you share, what you like, all of that is being aggregated and stored somewhere. And, things that you post on your social media will come back to bite you. And, we're always, telling folks, like right now, we want you to vote. But that vote needs to be for someone who's worthy. And they can be their own worst enemy when somebody goes to dig and find things to tear them down by their own words that they put out, right? So we definitely ask them to be more cognizant and conscious of the future because we need them. Right. But we don't need them to be knocked out because of something that they'll then have to, well, I was younger and, don't put it on there, right? So we want them to think about their future now, even in the small things. Oh, no one's going to be worried. Nobody's going to. Yes, they will.
Yes.
Because when you are a prize contender for an office, there's someone looking to bring you down, and you don't want to help them do it.
Yeah, the rise up. That's good. That's good. Both of you. You guys got some good comments here. All right, so here we go. If you could go back in time and talk to one of the newly freed enslaved people on June 19th, 1865, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd encourage them to make a life for themselves other than what they're used to, which means they're going to have to find a place in the society they're getting into. They're going to have to find jobs. They're going to have to find a church and tell their children about what happened to them so that doesn't happen to the children. There's so much they've got to learn, and the sooner they do it, the better.
I think one of the things, if I could, understanding the role of sharecropping and as a path forward for them, right? Because you got freed, and you're supposed to work for wages. But we're not gonna, you can't be idle, you can't come to the fort, you can't, all right, you're just kind of stuck. So my thing would be find a way to put some money back for yourself out of each, even though you are having to get your sustenance, your seed and anything for your family from, and they're gonna check it off, and at the end, there's nothing left. And matter of fact, you owe, right? There's got to be a way for them to know how to work that system for themselves so that they put something up for themselves and then buy their own land and get their own. And for the ones who, were granted land, because some, the slave, the plantation owner, did give them land to work or for themselves. Don't let that land, because land is valuable, leave your family. Do as much as you can to hold on to that land, because land is precious. And I think the hardest part of being newly freed or emancipated is they weren't given any tools to be successful in this newfound emancipation. And then when Reconstruction was there and things looked good and then to have it pulled out from under them just as quickly as it came. But during that period of Reconstruction, If you can hold on to that wealth, don't think, well, I'm like we're doing today. Whenever somebody gets a new job and they get a bump in their increase, they spend it.
Yeah.
We become consumers instead of thinking about how to hold on to that for a rainy day or for investing in ourselves, right? We spend it, we consume it, it's gone. Because we keep thinking tomorrow, well, I'm gonna have that again next year, and then we've got massive amounts of people without jobs right now.
True that.
Right? So it's not just our enslaved ancestors. It's a financial freedom paradigm that we've got to have in our minds even today.
Yes.
So.
Yep. And they signed their name with an X. Wow. Okay. So that's a good lead into this one. So you're known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, and it just makes sense that you are the granddaughter of Juneteenth.
Well, hold on. We haven't talked about the museum.
Okay, talk away.
Is there a question in there about the museum?
I'm Opal Lee, and I'm called the grandmother of Juneteenth. Been around a long time. Juneteenth is the day that General Gordon Granger arrived in Texas, telling everybody that the enslaved were free. We started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since. In 2016, I did a walking campaign in major cities to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. I collected 1,500,000 signatures along the way. But to be able to go to the White House, to see the bill passed into law, that was off the chain. This is the pen that President Biden used to sign Juneteenth into law. But I tell you, Juneteenth's more than a holiday. It's about celebrating freedom. So we're going to continue this celebration in this new museum in my hometown, Fort Worth.
The historic South Side in the late early 1900s was the epicenter of Black life in the city of Fort Worth. And a gentleman named William Madison McDonald, who happened to have been Texas' first Black millionaire, crafted and curated the neighborhood with his dollars, with all the things that a neighborhood needs to be successful. Culturally, spiritually, economically, it was all there. But in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the government built highways around the neighborhood, essentially identifying it as unworthy of investment. And this was a common practice in cities like Fort Worth across the U.S. As you walk around the neighborhood today, you see many empty lots, places where there used to be homes. Half the people that live in the neighborhood live below the poverty line. The life expectancy in this neighborhood is 12 years below the national average. What we ultimately want to do is create change. This museum will be much more than just a museum. In addition to artifacts and both permanent and touring exhibitions that narrate the Juneteenth story, we'll also have a food hall, black box space, theater, business incubator, and some culture-centric retail.
The program became the foundation of what the museum will become, the full experience of emerging Black culture. The Juneteenth flag was a real motivator to us in our design process. The 12 freedoms that were gained on Juneteenth were the North Star for how the program was arranged.
The museum and the greater development will literally be a catalyst to changing the trajectory of a neighborhood that's been neglected for a very long time. This museum will bring jobs, commerce, culture, lots of other things back to the historic South Side. The economic impact will be immeasurable. On an annual basis, the museum will create more than $24 million of total impact and bring more than 200 jobs to the community.
The museum will serve as a beacon for Black communities nationally and be a representation of the joy of emancipation that can resonate globally.
None of us are free until we're all free. And we're not free yet. And the Juneteenth Museum is going to get us a lot closer to that idea. This bold project to build a national treasure can only become a reality with the help of bold people.
I think that's the smoothest transition ever. What does carrying that title mean to both of you?
Well, I really appreciate being called the grandmother of Juneteenth because I consider myself everybody's grandma. And if I can pass on something that they can benefit from, I like being called a grandmother.
Oh, wow.
So the granddaughter of Juneteenth means a lot to me, mainly because I helped my grandmother in her advocacy to make Juneteenth a holiday. So I was there when President Biden signed the bill. My cheeks hurt that day because I smiled so much that day, seeing him bow his knee to her.
Yes.
I remember when she told me she wanted to walk in 2016.
Right.
As we were building this out, I said, now when this becomes a holiday, you're gonna be there. And she said, I better be. And I said, you are. You're gonna be there when this gets signed into law. And the fact that Juneteenth is more than red soda water and barbecue.
Right.
The fact that we've got to use it now more than ever before as a tool for communicating the freedom that it means, the emancipation, in not just our body, but in our mind and in our soul. Because right now in the state that our country is in, the dismantling of freedoms and, dare we say, DEI, to mean an attack on African American culture and history, Juneteenth is a national holiday. So it can't be rescinded.
Right.
It can't be dismantled. Right. It can't be not celebrated because it is a law of the land. So that freedom that Juneteenth represents for everybody needs to be celebrated by everybody. So I take the mantle of the granddaughter of Juneteenth personal because I see it as the future. Juneteenth isn't just about our past. Right. It's about the freedom that we have to hold on to live in America and thrive. But it has to be not on, the backs of, somebody else not making it. We rise and fall together. We don't want tariffs, but we're going to be impacted by them. So we rise and fall together. That's why the strength of the freedom of our voice, of our collective engagement is so important. And Juneteenth has to be what we use as a tool. I'm thankful that God gave my grandmother the tenacity to help. I call her the straw that broke the camel's back. Right. People had been working. Dr. Myers had been working, legislatively, getting Juneteenth before the people. But it was her effort of putting her body on the line that got it over, right? So being a part of that legacy is I think, for me, it's cherished. Yes. And I thank God that she did that and was still here to see it. Yes. It's not like MLK, we have a living legend still with us that can celebrate the fruits of that labor and the labor of others. That's so. Right.
And we can continue eating our watermelon, fried that chicken, cornbread greens, right all out of your garden.
Oh, man, yes. And I do have, you can't call it a garden. I've got a farm.
That's
13
farm.
acres on the Trinity River and a farm manager to die for.
Oh, yes.
He raises his produce. He gives some to the WIC program, and he gives some to the center, and then he goes to market with the rest of it. And I tell you,
Does anybody have a box of tissue. We need one right here. To give me one underneath the seat, 'cause I'm welling up. All right. The Walk for Freedom is now something cities across the country can organize with you, Dr. Opal, and with your help. So what's the vision for expanding that, and how can communities get involved?
Oh, I'm wanting communities to realize that we're not free yet. We have homeless people, and we have hungry people, and we have people without insurance. We're not free yet. So we have to keep on walking and keep on talking and make people realize that there are things that still need to be done before we're free.
Right.
Opal's Walk for Freedom was birthed out of Opal's Walk to DC, which was her first trek in 2016.
Right.
After it became a holiday, it was Opal's Walk for Juneteenth, because now we had Juneteenth as a national holiday. But if we stop there, one thing she says is we can't rest on our laurels. So just calling it Opal's Walk for Juneteenth seemed like it was final. We did it, we accomplished, but we haven't.
Right.
And so it then became Opal's Walk for Freedom, because we're not free yet.
Yes.
And so that's why when you see an Opal's Walk for Freedom here in Fort Worth, and we have a branded Opal's Walk program for cities to do and duplicate what we do here all across the country.
Right.
And that way people can have a actionable means of communicating their voice, their support for the freedom that they believe Juneteenth represents, like we do, the unity that Juneteenth represents. And so with hosted walks across the country that will walk simultaneously, when we step off at 9 Central, Los Angeles steps off at 7, and the East Coast steps off at 10. We're walking with Miss Opal in concert, in unity, locking arms in arms across the country.
Yes.
Now, the expanded version of that means if you can't get to a branded Opal's Walk across the country, then we want you to be a part of our virtual walk, which means that, hey, I'm walking 2.5 miles in support of Juneteenth, Miss Opal, and the unity that it represents.
Yes.
And so we're asking folks to go to opalswalk.com and register so we can know that they're walking. They'll get a t-shirt, and they'll get a hashtag strategy for social media, because we want them to go live on Facebook. We want them to go on Instagram.
Yes.
We want them to do, show us your 2.5, how you walked it. If it was 10 times around the high school track, if it was on your treadmill in the gym, if it was on your Peloton, on your bicycle, however you did your 2.5, we want you to show the nation that, and break the internet. I walk my 2.5, because our goal is to see if 1.5 million folks can sign a petition, 1.5 million folks can walk 2.5 miles some kind of way. And so that shows the collective power of people to make change and to show their voices heard.
Okay. So we're talking about brand building. We're going to build some brands, and that's a great concept.
Well, and in 2026, the nation turns 250 years old.
Correct.
Okay, and so there's a whole, celebrating America of 250. I want us to celebrate the freedom that Juneteenth represents in 2026 like never before.
Yes.
So it's my goal, with my grandmother's blessing, for us to stand up at least one branded Opal's Walk in all 50 states, walking simultaneously, including Hawaii, all right, and Alaska. And so that we're all walking together in 2026 while she's walking in DC, in the nation's capital. because then we will be able to celebrate freedom from the 19th of June to the 4th of July.
Yes.
Because my grandmother, what do you say? July 4th?
Oh, July 4th, freed the land.
Yes.
Juneteenth, freed the people.
That's
You see what I'm saying?
That's the essence.
That's
of
the essence.
Juneteenth.
Okay? So that freedom resounding in 2026 is going to be awesome.
So we encourage everyone to go to opalswalk.com.
Yes, sir.
opalswalk.com. And let's get involved.
This is Miss Opal's book, Juneteenth. Okay? And what I really like about her book is the fact that it's a very inclusive. I love our artist and our illustrator.
Yes.
We intentionally chose for the children that she's reading this book to,
Yes.
to be a diverse group of children. And so we've got a young man that's in a wheelchair.
Yes.
All right, we've got brown people.
Yes.
We've got Asian people. We've got white people, along
Yes.
with black children, because Juneteenth is for everybody. And so these young people are saying, Granddaughter Opal Lee, what does this mean? And so she's telling them about Juneteenth. Now,
Yes.
what's really special about this one, so again, if you get one that doesn't have the special edition on it,
Right.
all right, that's our second edition. Our first one was with pictures from the internet.
Right.
Then we had this one written with an illustrator. And just as soon as I got it published, because this is self-published, Unity Unlimited is the publisher of this book. We released it in April of 2021.
Right.
Became a holiday in 2021, in June. So we had to come back with a special edition.
Yes.
But what's neat about the special edition that nobody else's book will have, it's
Wow.
got that page.
Wow.
And that's Miss Opal at the signing of the Juneteenth law.
Yes.
Okay, so we had to turn around and issue another release. So this is the third edition of
Wow.
Miss Opal's book, Juneteenth, a Children's Story. But again, this is by far one that we hope that teachers will have as a resource in their classrooms. Because usually when Juneteenth happens, school is out, right? But it's one that you can use in Black History Month, right, to talk about it, or at the end of school at May as they're getting ready to get out. But we would love for every elementary school to have a teacher to have a copy, and then, and of course, in the libraries as a resource for Juneteenth.
And I've got a good segue into, you just recently had a commercial shoot, right?
We did our
We want to
commercial.
do a special shout out to Khalida Strickland.
And you know what came of that is we'd been working on the script, and this year it was going to focus on her legacy,
Right.
And so there's 5 generations in our family, so it was going to be her, then my dad, then me, then my son, then his daughter.
Yes.
So there was 5 generations of us, and that was cute. But Sunday morning I got up and it hit me that it's not about Miss Opal.
Right.
It's about the people that would participate in the walks because of her, but that unity that Juneteenth represents needed to be, and so we had, I had one day, and I called folks and said, look, we need to have a bunch of people, with us as we do this commercial shoot.
Yes.
And Khalida, I said, Khalida, that means I need some Latinx, I need some white folks, because it's just, we can cover the Black, but it was inclusive, right, of everybody being able to find themselves in the Juneteenth story. So yes, I have a village that I can call and they tap, and so I really do want to thank Jeanette Martinez.
Oh, yes. Jeanette.
For
I was the first person I thought of when you asked me that.
for helping us get the word out. So yes.
Okay, let's say Hollywood makes a biopic about your lives. Who plays Dr. Opal Lee, and who plays you, granddaughter? What's the title of the movie?
I have absolutely no idea who they picked to pick a old lady nearly 100 years old. I'd like to see that person.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing.
You know, we've been talking about this for a minute, right?
Right.
And thinking through who could play it. I mean, because Miss Opals has to spend a lot of time, so there's going to be several folks,
Yeah.
you know, playing her, right? So it's the young, you know, Miss Opal, the Miss Opal that's, you know, the educator, and then the one that's old, and then the one that's older too, right? So, I mean, we don't have to have lots of actresses, you know, to play Miss Opal. But I was thinking through, you know, who would play the Dion? You know, who would play me? A serious question, though. A serious question about, you know, who would play? Because there's going to be a made, you know, movie, a biopic, I'm sure there will be. But I was just like, who going to play me?
So we got 2 more questions.
You know.
Okay.
You'll cut for real. Okay. So good. That's good, Dion. Who's gonna play me? All right. Okay. So you have seen so much history. If you could sit down for tea with any historical figure, who would it be? And what's the first thing you would ask them?
Oh, I'd want to talk to Sojourner Truth.
Wow. That was your pick, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I'd want to ask her or tell her how much I appreciated the things that she did and wanted her to know that in blazing the trail, we are grateful, extremely grateful that she did so.
I think mine would be Mary McLeod Bethune, because she started the college that she, which is now Bethune-Cookman now, right?
Right.
With very little money. I mean, and promises of getting more money. I mean, but she didn't have it when she, you know, got the land and got the building. She didn't, but she had faith enough to believe in the vision that God gave her and to see it and the impact that it would make on generations of people. And so she didn't let her current state stop her from what had been planted in her, right? And so I think that I would want to ask her, you know, how did she see that? How did she see her way to being so impactful of so many lives with just stepping out there and going for it, right? Was that scary, you know, or what?
She believed in a God,
Yeah.
and he's somebody who has helped us all along the way. I believe in him too. So when you step out on faith, you know he's there somewhere, listening and looking and helping.
Absolutely. Total concurrence of that. Okay, we did last two.
You them last two, the last.
Y'all caught that, huh? Y'all caught that, huh? All right. Last two, seriously, man. Can you share a moment in your life when you felt pure joy, the kind of joy freedom should bring?
When that bill was signed into law, haven't I told you already I could do a holy dance?
Oh, yes.
Ooh, it was awesome. I was awestruck. I didn't know how to act. And I've said more than once, I wanted to do a holy dance. But the kid says, I didn't know how I was twerking.
Pure joy.
Pure joy.
Pure joy. Aside from birthing your babies and you're seeing them for the first time, I don't know that you can get past the joy of that. But excitement and happiness was, I think, you know, the first time that we completed the walk, right? And we were able to see people come together. If you looked at the pictures from the aerial, anybody that does any event planner, there's the money shot, right? And so when I got a chance to see all the people in 2021 that came out to walk with us when we got back home from DC, and you saw just waves and waves of different races and different people out there in the hot, all right, walking with us for Juneteenth. That exhale moment right there to see it afterwards, because you couldn't see it before because we were at the front, so we didn't know who. But when you saw that sea of folks coming across, coming over 35, and walking downtown, when I got to see those pictures, to me that was really, it was a satisfying moment. That, one, the event was over and it was successful, nobody got hurt and ran over, nothing happened. But to see the support of our community, for what we were doing, that was a great, satisfying moment. It really was.
Oh, wow. So, we're going to cut? Let's cut.
Let's cut, John. You've been a Baptist preacher, and you done closed 3 times with the same 2 questions.
We won't talk about the cookout. Okay.
Okay.
Last question.
If
If you could sum up your message to the world in one sentence, what would it be?
I don't know. Let her tell you hers, because I haven't thought of mine.
So if I summed up Miss Opal's impact, it's one that she'll be remembered for, and it's that if people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. That's one of the ones that it's going to be on walls with the little Opal Lee. It's going to be that quote that everybody's going to have. She uses the one that MLK had, if none of us are free. None of us are free until we're all free. That was an MLK one. But Miss Opal's will be, if people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. But she has another one too. I'm gonna see if she's gonna use it.
Use it.
Make yourself
a committee of one.
There you go.
To change somebody's mind. If people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's up to you to change their mind.
There she goes.
Not gonna happen in a day. You're gonna have to work at it, but it can be done.
All right, let's see. Ready to cut?
Cut.
For you, 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 I can't wait no more. I'm in that vintage David Ruffin limelight to stay in the